Welcome into Kitchen Talk Pickleball Edition. I'm your host, Caitlin Miller, and this week joining us is the co-founder of Diadem Sports, Evan Specht. Evan, thank you so much for coming on again.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here. I love coming on.
Yes, well, I mean, you guys have some really exciting news. Obviously, the paddle technology continues to change all the time, and you guys have a new technology called Blue Core. So, I mean, tell me a little bit about this and just kind of, how you came up with this type of technology.
Yeah, I mean, in general, pickleball moves very, very quickly right now.
Yeah.
On our tennis side, it's 2, 3 years before you launch new technology, new rackets, and all that. In pickleball, I feel like if you're not doing something every 6 months, you're definitely falling behind. So, Blue Core is actually a product, though, of something that we've been working on for very long time. So it started all the way back with our first Diacon, where we unveiled the Vice paddle, and it was an EVA core, completely illegal to the standards it is now, and we launched it as a like kind of a look into the future. We never expected it to be approved. We never tried to get it approved, but we were starting to mess with these foam cores, and it's pretty much, I think, in 2025 going to be the standard. The Gen 4 technology is a foam core, and so Blue Core is foam. It's a piece of very solid, dense, hard foam. And it's kind of, like I said, a product of several years of tweaking different types of foam, from EVA foam to this is a PPE foam. So, or sorry, an EPP foam. And basically it's the same material of a honeycomb, polypropylene, in a completely different form. And so there's a whole different build out and a whole different construction to it, but it gives you a very durable, very comfortable paddle feel.
Interesting. And how I know you guys said you spent, years developing this and now you're going to implement it right into all your paddles.
Yeah, so what we launched at DICON last week was this technology, this Blue Core technology, which is a paddle core technology. But yes, we're going to be putting it in all of our performance paddles. So, everything that we have out now, from the Warrior Edge, the Edge 18K, Icon, those type of paddles, in their next generation, as they launch this year in 2025, they will be with Blue Core technology. And what that allows us to do is offer a lifetime warranty on our paddles. So any paddle that has Blue Core will have a lifetime warranty on the core. That is how durable and
Wow.
long lasting this core is.
I know. I feel like that is the problem. Like I grew up a tennis player and you go and you restring your racket, but like with pickleball, if you're playing all the time, you feel like you're replacing your paddle a lot. So is this the type of technology that will enable you to kind of keep a paddle too for a lot longer?
Yeah, I mean, what the way we describe it is you'll change your paddle when you want to, not when you're
Yeah.
forced to. So there's still going to be technological advancements, and I'm sure, there'll be Gen 5, Gen 6, Gen 7, and we'll tweak even the Blue Core and different faces, and everybody's coming up with great ideas and how to really find what the standard is for pickleball. But this makes a what I would call a real sports equipment. I think using honeycomb after wood, 20, 30 years ago when they first started testing this, was just the necessary evolution of wood, from wood to composite. But honeycomb is just a very basic material. It's being used in like thousands of different products. This core is a little more geared towards what I think a sports equipment item, racket sports, would be. And so, eliminating core crush, eliminating delamination, eliminating dead spots that you get from honeycomb is what Blue Core is going to allow to happen. And so, yes, you will not be forced to replace your paddle. I think, paddles should last 6 months, a year, 2 years, just depending on how you're using it. But if you want a new paddle because you like a new color or you want a different shape, obviously you're still going to upgrade your paddle, but you're not going to be forced to.
And how rewarding is it? Obviously, I think the average pickleball player does not understand like the science behind the paddle. And even I'm still learning so much about it and the time and the engineering that goes into it and the technology that you're talking about. So, how rewarding is it for you to, see it actually come to life and see it how it changes people's, play on the court and
Yeah.
just the paddles in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we did is we started with a problem, and in pickleball, there's different types of things that you're looking for. You want power, you want control, you want a wide body, you want a thinner, a thicker. But the kind of consistent problem was paddles falling apart, cores falling apart, paddles changing throughout the life of it. And that even led to issues with legality. Like it started legal, but a couple months in now it's delaminated and it's hot and it's not legal. So that was the problem. And so finding the solution using the cores that we'd been working on for years, yeah, no, it's great. It's great to see that we finally believe we have the solution to that massive problem, and giving people, I think, the credibility and the durability is important. They want to know that when they spend $200-300 on a paddle, that it's going to last, and it's not just some gimmicky paddle that they bought off Alibaba or Amazon that doesn't have a name behind it. So we're standing behind this paddle with a lifetime warranty, and I think that was really our ultimate goal. How can we make sure we're giving customers that confidence to use our paddle for the rest of their playing career if they wanted?
And to your knowledge, are you the only paddle company using this type of technology?
Well, for Blue Core, yes, we're the only one because it's ours. It's our
Yeah.
proprietary material. Now, I think foam is coming out and it's going to come out in a big way. And I think it's the Gen 4 technology. We've seen other brands already unveil and kind of launch a soft launch, if you will, right away. And I think that there's been foam involved with paddles, whether it's an EVA core like we did with Vice or some of the other Gen 3 paddles that had like a wider foam ring around the honeycomb. So I think the evolution's been going towards foam, but there's I believe the right way and a wrong way to do it, and we spent a lot of time to make sure that we did it the right way.
That's awesome. And in a market, that's changing constantly, like you said, it's so much faster than tennis. I mean, how hard is it to keep up just as a paddle company? And you guys are one of the big ones too. But I mean, just how hard is it to kind of constantly keep up with these new generations of
Yeah.
paddles?
It's difficult to say the least, because even when we innovate, it's not too difficult for someone to kind of take that innovation and either copy it or adjust it or build off it, which is great too. I mean, we want to push that innovation. But yeah, I mean, we basically skipped Gen 3 technology. I mean, we knew it was going to be illegal, or it was illegal when it launched. And so we were kind of working on this foam the whole time. And so, there's ups and downs, because if you don't have the hottest paddle on the market at that exact moment, there's some pressure like, well, what's next for you guys? And so our goal is just to stay the course, continue to innovate, continue to give great product, and build the trust with the pickleball community. At the end, we want to push pickleball forward, but we want to do it in a way that's, I think, good for the game. And I think Gen 4 foam blue core technology definitely is. But in terms of like always seeing podcasts or new reviews or new paddle launches, it's difficult to keep up. I don't even know half the brands. I don't know half their like story of what it is that they're selling and what is unique about their paddles. But we just kind of stay our course and focus on ourselves more than anything.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And obviously, you just said you just had the big reveal last weekend. I know Diacon is one of the biggest events for you guys. How did that go, and kind of what was that event like?
Yeah, so I mean, Daikon, yeah, you're right. It's a big event for us. I think it's a big event for pickleball in general. We have people
Yeah,
from all over the industry and our partners from around the world that come. And so to be able to really share those moments, and that basically the product launches, the story launches, the marketing launches of our brand with, well, this time it was about 750 of our closest friends. It's a really, really good experience. It's fun, from kind of the way we do the product announcement and our like keynote speeches where we mix in video, we make it very fun.
yeah,
To we did a breakout sessions this time, which is what a lot of our customers asked, because our presentation and kind of what we unveil is usually pretty high level. Like, here's a new shoe and here's a little bit of tech and a cool video. But we were able to sit down, like for the shoe, for example, with our chief shoe developer, and have him really go through not only like the shoe, but a general process of how you develop a shoe from an idea to fruition, and it was cool because it's very loud. I mean, we got 750 people in a room drinking and eating, so we actually had like headsets where kind of like silent disco style, so people were able to just
Cool.
listen, and they could watch or they could be walking around eating, but they were listening to almost like a podcast, a
Yeah,
live
yeah, yeah.
podcast of the different products and technology. So to deep dive into Blue Core there, to deep dive into our new Court Flow shoe, it was a really cool experience, and to connect with our partners from around the world.
It seems like 2025 is a big and exciting year for you guys, not
Yeah.
only with the paddle technology, but like you said, you guys have, I know, new shoes, the flow shoes, and then you also have new slides coming out as
Yep.
well.
Yeah, new slides, new socks, what we just launched, new additional colorways to our previous shoe, our current shoe, the Court Burst. And so we've really kind of made planted our flag. We've really planted our flag in the ground that says, footwear is a big part of our business, and we're expanding our footwear division. We had a lot of success in 2024 with the Court Burst, which is our highest end performance shoe, and then we're adding the Court Flow, which is
Oh, I
is
love
more of
those.
a affordable shoe, you could say, but it's still obviously high end. It's still very, very durable, and it's got a lot of features from the air weave mesh to the extra foam under the foot. But it's only $115 a pair compared to 150, so it reaches kind of a different market. And a lot of our partner shops, they want to have that range, and so like everything in our industry, it's about coming out with a great product, and then you got to expand within that line because people want, more and different stuff within that category. So whether it's adding a different shape paddle or adding a different price shoe, it's just a constant kind of war out there to just get the attention of the consumer.
I know. No, it's crazy. Pickleball has exploded and so have so many companies and it's great to
Yeah.
have competition, but it is just like, it's so hard to keep up with everyone. But
Yeah.
it honestly, I feel like it makes the industry better in the long term, just coming up with better technology and trying to keep up with the whole market. And you guys have an interesting story too, right? Because you started with tennis and then obviously when pickleball exploded, became the fastest growing sport, you kind of added that to your brand.
Yeah, I think we added it and then prioritized it very quickly. So, I mean,
Yeah.
the first step that we did is we built a pickleball court at our headquarters, and we learned how to play. I played in tournaments. I started to get a sense of, what the consumer wanted. And back then, the consumer, I think, was a lot different. It was just a different type of player. And then when it exploded, we just, adjusted our strategy at all times to make sure that we were reaching the masses. We always want to go after the bulk, and then kind of with that bell curve reach the niche market. So for us, the bulk is the everyday player, the person that wants to get into the sport and wants to get better. So that's why we make great products, like in terms of performance products and high end products. They want to get better, but we're not necessarily focused on that the outlier of just the ultra competitive pro, or the ultra beginner that are just going for the cheapest. So we're more in the
Right.
middle, and we have a full range of products, but that's totally different from tennis, where we really mostly focus on the high end players, right? We're more of a challenger brand that's going after the big brands, and they're in Walmart and they're going after the masses. We're going after the people that are really the high level juniors, college, pro coaches, and players like that. So different strategies for different basic brands within our brand. But it was a lot of fun to go from, just a real challenger brand, just fighting for the scraps basically, to being one of the key players in pickleball. And I think
Yeah.
we were able to let our innovation run wild in tennis. We innovate. That's the same thing we do, but it's not as impactful in tennis, where you're basically choosing one of the top brands just because everybody in your whole career has told you that's what you're supposed to use. Whereas pickleball, people are really open to just whatever's the best. If you tell me this is better than something else, I'm going to give it a try. And so that's what we've, been able to do and been able to get people's attention that way.
Which is awesome. And speaking of like demographics, it's interesting you mentioned, the juniors now in college. It's amazing to see how young the sport is getting. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like when I started in COVID, it was the first time I even tried playing, it was like a bunch of older people, and then it like slowly got younger. And now when I'm, at PPAs or APPs, I'm like, oh my gosh, all these young juniors, and they're so good too. It's amazing to see. So, is that something too, like you guys have had to cater now towards the younger generation? Are you seeing a lot more people, younger people using your equipment?
Yeah, I think that our ultimate goal is that it's in high schools, it's in college, and
Yeah,
that's where the kind of the runway goes. You start young and it's a lifetime sport. Right now, people are starting at any age because you can, and I think that'll continue. But at some point, we'll want to make sure that kids are starting young and both falling in love with our brand, but also falling in love with pickleball, of course. And I think, yes, in general, every day the average age is younger. We have facilities as well that we own and operate. So, seeing the different junior programs we're able to do in those facilities, which was impossible, like you said, 4 or 5 years ago, to even just, for me, I'm just happy to see like 20, 30-year olds. I think that's great because those are the ones that are
yeah,
looking for something to do, in as they get older. And, they used to play baseball when they were a kid, but you're not really playing baseball at 30 years old, besides maybe joining a softball league. So
right.
getting those, young professionals right now is what I'm really excited. And I would say that's probably our big market. But ideally moving forward, it's like teenagers. It's 12-year-olds. That's what we would like to see.
And since you guys started, the whole pickleball brand, like how would you say the market has changed just for paddles in general since you laid out your first paddle to, now laying out this new blue core technology?
Yeah, and I think that's really the big change is the technology started to drive and the innovation started to drive the market. I think early on, whatever brands existed then, whatever paddles existed then, it was often brands and paddles that were made in a garage at somebody's house. It was more of a passion project. It was something that they were not really experts in. They just started early and they had a passion for it. And then when innovation really started to kick off and people demanded more durable paddles or faster paddles or more spin paddles or different shapes. People expected the brands that existed to really push the envelope. And so right now, to me, it's all about innovation. It's all about what's new, what's going to add something to my game as a
Yeah,
player. And I think that's been the biggest change is you can't sit back and rely on a paddle that you made 4 years ago. Those paddles aren't going to sell.
right.
It's going to be the hot new, and it's beyond just the color. And I think in tennis, a lot of times it's literally just a new color. Ooh, I like that color. In pickleball, it's like, nah, I don't even care about the color. I want it to be
Right.
the best performing paddle. And so that's like the pressure we feel pretty much every day. And I think Blue Core really answers the call of not only improving the performance because it does increase dwell time, it does increase the actual just sweet spot, and it eliminates a lot of the bad. But what's unique about Blue Core and the way we launched it as just a technology before we launched the paddle is we can do a lot with it. I can make a fast paddle. I can make a control paddle. I can make a soft paddle or a hard paddle because we can adjust the actual Blue Core. We can adjust the density. Of course, we can adjust the construction of the paddle. Blue Core is more about just this idea of a better performing and a better durable material that we're going to build paddles out of. And we'll launch paddles as early as the spring, and they'll have their own tech and their own, performance, their own like specific uh, dimensions, and whether it's a power or a control, but it'll be built on the Blue Core.
And for someone, listening that is newer to the sport but looking to, really advance, what are some recommendations? Like if, let's say I'm looking for a new paddle, what would you suggest to someone, as they are searching for a new, more advanced paddle?
Yeah, well, the first is I would go to diademsports.com and make sure that you're getting a good paddle.
I
After
love
that, you
it.
really need to decide, and maybe hopefully somebody in your circle, whether it's a coach or a person you're playing with, can kind of let you know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And then you need to determine, do you want to enhance your strengths or do you want to protect your weaknesses? And I think as a coach growing up, in my 20s and 30s, I was coaching a lot of tennis. That's really what it came down to. Some days we worked on, you know, really enhancing your strengths and saying, hey, your serve or your forehand is your weapon. Let's build on it, or protecting the weaknesses. And so in pickleball, if somebody, a lot of times I hear, oh, well, I don't need any more power. I'm good on power. And so they obviously want to focus on their weakness, which is maybe touch and feel. And so maybe you go with a softer paddle or a spinnier paddle. And I do think with the limit of power now kind of coming into effect with the rules, really precision and control and being able to put the ball exactly where you want it, I think is going to be important. And obviously that's a big part of what blue core does with the dwell time. But because there's such a range of paddles and of characteristics that paddles give you, you really first need to determine what it is that you want from a paddle. And then you should be able to find that in most brands, and especially in our brand. If you want a super control paddle, maybe you'll go to the Warrior Edge. If you want a power paddle or a poppy paddle, you go to the Speed Pro. If you're looking for a thin paddle that's easy on the arm, the Icon. So there's kind of such a range now that it's really going to be determined by the consumer on what they want.
No, and I think that's great advice. I think, yeah, either catering towards your strengths or trying to help your weaknesses. And then I think it's so important. And I feel like that's the difference between pickleball and tennis. Like when I wanted to try out a new racket, like I would go into the pro
Yeah.
shop and have a bunch of demos. And I feel like in pickleball, you're almost just like borrowing your friend's paddles, to demo it. It's like we have one place, I don't know if it's different elsewhere, but like maybe 20, 30 minutes outside of Nashville that has some demos that you could go pick up and like borrow for a week. But I feel like that's such an important part of the game, and it is hard to do actually.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right that, I mean, in tennis, we don't sell a tennis racket just off the shelf very often. I mean, it
Right,
comes through
right.
a coach, it comes through somebody who's been demoing and been like testing and been getting feedback from, maybe multiple people. Pickleball, because it's just so innovative and new, and people are just going, I mean, you just go on Amazon and just buy a paddle and that's it. And then hopefully it fits your game. But that's where we do see a lot of success with our either coaches, our internal sales reps. I mean, we have a demo team that drives around with a big yellow truck. We do see a lot of success when we can do events, have demos there, and give that feedback to people and be able to answer the questions. Like, what are you looking for from your paddle? And okay, here's a couple options. And then they try it and go, wow, that's either, much better than what I'm currently using, or that doesn't fit my game. I want to try something else. And
Right.
I definitely think as the sport evolves, and people are years and years and years into the game and they truly know what they want, I think they'll probably need to become a little more, testing, a little more, feedback from coaches and from people that are experts to kind of like find that right paddle for you. Right now, you probably know within a few months there'll be something new and hot and exciting anyway. So you might as well go with this one and then you'll get something
Yeah.
new later. I think going to a foam core, and I think just the longer the sport exists, I think it'll be a little bit less of that and more long-term connection with a paddle.
Awesome. And Evan, just going back to you and your story, I know you guys obviously started Diadem Sports as tennis, and now you've become a pickleball brand. I mean, did you ever, 5, 10 years ago, think that you would be, working in the pickleball industry and doing what you're doing?
No, I mean, 10 years ago, I didn't even know what pickleball was.
I know.
5 years ago, I might have been the most hesitant to get into pickleball in the team
Interesting.
initially. But then, deep down, I was always, my shoulder, I can't really play tennis. So deep down, I was always looking for something to be competitive in again, because I am super competitive. So once I really started playing and playing tournaments, I realized that that's why this sport is taking off. And so I did pretty much fall in love with it. Obviously, I love innovating and love making new stuff. So that gives me the outlet because I can make so much new stuff all the time. Whereas
Yes.
tennis, it's a very slow process. But yeah, even just the brand itself from where we started in my garage, I didn't really think about this. I mean, in the beginning, I was just thinking, can I ever like pay myself? Can I ever get money? Because for the first, I don't know, 5 years of the business, I mean, we just put everything we did back into growing the business as we just bootstrapped. So, where we are now and where we want to be is not something that I ever even thought about initially, and especially in the pickleball world. And I'm excited that pickleball is growing the way it is to where it gives us this opportunity and that we can be a part of that growth.
And you said you started in your garage. Was it literally you and one other person, or
Yeah.
how many of there were
Yeah, there was
there?
two of us initially, and then we brought on a third. So we have three founders. But I mean, we sold just sets of tennis string to start, and we bought the string from Taiwan, and we made the packaging here. And so every night I would glue the packaging together in my just dining room while I watched TV with glue to where I had like 1 year long sinus infection because the super glue was just like,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
I don't know what's in my head right now with all the glue I've inhaled. But yeah, I mean, that was just, we just did everything bootstrap. We didn't get a bunch of investment money and start from, already $1 million. We did everything from just the very beginning. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
Wow. And to start there in your garage, and then now you guys literally have Diadem, complexes
Yeah.
where, you're a lot more than a paddle and a racket company. You now have also built communities for people.
Yeah, and that's our vision. We want to enable people to play pickleball. We know if people are playing pickleball, they will find our product. And sometimes they go hand in hand because they're playing at a facility, so they get our product. But we just
Right.
want to grow the sport. I mean, it's the coolest thing in the world to be a part of a new sport, right? I mean, like, could it be the NBA? Could it be the NFL? I mean, could it be as big as soccer? I mean, we have no idea, but to be a part of it is really cool and really rewarding. So yeah, we're looking at it both from the actual playing to the products, and in the products we're looking at not only the paddles and the balls but the shoes. So we're trying to be as much as we can to the sport.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Evan, thank you so much for coming on again and
Of course.
sharing the new technology that you guys came out with. I can't wait to see it and check it out. I think 2025 is going to be a great year. There it is.
Yep.
And you can now, so with the new paddles coming out in 2025, that'll kind of launch on your website if people want to check
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah, we'll be
Okay.
launching in the spring, early in the spring,
Okay.
unveiling what paddle comes first with the blue core. And then throughout the year, we'll have our normal product launches, and everyone will be fully aware of when it does launch because there'll be a lot of marketing and a lot of samples getting out to all your local dealers and everything like that.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to try it out. And Evan, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned to see who will join us on the kitchen next time.